Morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. I hope you're having a really great start to your day and your Friday's starting off on the right foot and you are smiling. Thanks for joining me. We're going to start seated on our mats today. So go ahead and, oh, it looks like Bruno took my spot. We're going to start seated somewhere in the space that you like to practice. So go ahead and find that spot. So let's go ahead and get comfortable here. So I was going to mention to you before I get started that my house has carpet in the areas that I can practice in, except for the kitchen. And so if you have carpet and sometimes it's more challenging to practice with a mat, you can always practice on the floor. I have also found that if you just use a towel, because there's a little bit of grip, but not a big fluffy towel, maybe an older towel that has lost a little bit of that fluff. But if you use that, it also is helpful just to have a little bit of grip. But you don't even need anything also, if it's a little bit more wobbly. So just something to mention while I was thinking about it. So we'll go ahead and start seated. I want you to close the eyes and maybe just rock the sit bones from side to side so you start to feel comfortable as you arrive in the space. As you lift up through the center of the heart, to feel the heart shining up towards the sky. And then feel a smile, of course, on your face. It brightens the face and it can change the mood. Even if you have to fake it a little bit in the morning, it does change the vibe a little bit if you keep that smile. So smiling on your face, lifting through the heart. Feel the sit bones grounding into the floor. And then just soften here. Soften the eyes and start to soften the breath. So our practice today is going to be working into the hips. And this region, connecting with the legs and the low back, typically connects to emotions. And so I want you to think about, as you're moving through your practice today, some of the things that you tend to hold on to throughout your practice. So whether that's if you get into a pose and you are gripping the body because you don't want to release, or maybe you are unconsciously just moving through the poses and not being present. So be a little bit more aware today of your practice. Notice how the body feels as you move. And then maybe you use this as an opportunity to let go of any emotions that have been stored in the body that aren't serving you any longer. And then also think about that physical tension that might have built up from those emotions. See if you can find softness throughout the practice, whether it's releasing the jaw. Maybe it is softening through the shoulders. Maybe you even notice that you clench the hands when they can be softened. So just be aware of the body here a little bit more. Tune into yourself and how the body is feeling and how you are reacting to the postures. And then keeping the eyes closed. Let's bring the hands together now in front of the heart. We'll take our 3 cleansing breaths to begin practice together. Take a big, deep inhale in. Open the mouth and sigh it all out. We'll do that 2 more times. Big inhale. Open mouth, exhale. And then one last time. See if you can breathe deeper in. Pause at the top. And then control the breath out as you exhale. And we'll seal the lips. Bring all of our awareness to our conscious breath. Starting to turn our focus inward. And tuning into our, you'll take maybe 1 or 2 more breaths here. Letting that focus start to arrive in the space that you are practicing in. And not even just the physical space, but this space of time. Notice if the mind wants to reminisce or it wants to project into the future. And we'll take 1 more conscious breath here. And then let's blink the eyes open. Roll down onto your back. So we'll take a little bit of time before we get up and moving. Can bring the soles of the feet together. And then just notice how the inner thighs feel, how that feels into the hip sockets. And then what the pelvis, low back, and the shoulders are doing. Bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. And then just start to reconnect back with your breath. Feel the back of the neck long. And then again, this is where you can start tuning into your body right away. What you are gripping onto. What you are clinging onto. And see if you can use the breath and the stillness of the body just for these couple of breaths to notice where you are tightening the body or where you're resisting. Take another full cycle here. I want you to keep the lips sealed. If the eyes are closed, go ahead and bring the eyes to a soft gaze. And then you'll bring the hands to the sides of the knees and use the strength of the hands to bring the knees together and the feet onto the floor. Walk the sit bones walk the heels, close to the sit bones, and then bring the right knee in towards the chest. You can wrap the hands on the shin or behind the knee on the hamstring. And then I just want you to pay attention now to how that right hip socket is feeling. You can roll out the right ankle, maybe roll the foot out in one direction first and notice how the top of the foot feels, and then go in the opposite direction. Make sure you stay with your breath. As you notice that you lose that connection, just bring it right back to those deep breaths. Maybe a couple points and flexes through the right foot. So once we wake up the right ankle and the right foot, we're going to cross the right leg all the way over the left thigh. I want you to lift the legs up, reach for the ankles, the feet, or the calves. So if you need to lift up, go ahead and do that. And then if that's not even accessible for you, then go ahead and pull the knees close to the body. You always have that figure 4 shape too that you can use as well. So I want you to, if you have the ability that the thighs can come close together, right thigh over the left, I want you to pull the knees in and then feel the feet pulling away from one another. And then soften the shoulders here. So as we move through different poses, the body might want to move that tension around into the body. So you might notice that you are shrugging the shoulders. Maybe you started to clench the jaw. And then even though you're using a little bit of exertion here, see if you can find a little bit of softness at the same time. Find that balance in the body. Take a full cycle of breath. And then if you have the shins or the ankles or the feet, go ahead and release. You'll keep the cross of the legs. Open the arms out to a T. And then just let the knees fall over to the left side as you exhale. Keep the right shoulder connected to the floor. And then feel that stretch along the low back. And if this doesn't feel good for the gaze to look over the right shoulder, then just look up towards the ceiling. And then once you find that sweet spot where you can relax into stillness, let's close the eyes. Take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Do that one more time, full breath. Your next inhale is going to bring everything back into center. So the gaze and the knees. You can step the left foot onto the floor to square the hips and place the right foot next to the left. And then, so walk the heels close to the sit bones once again. cross the left leg over the right thigh, and you'll lift the right foot up. So notice right away which side of the body is a little bit tighter. Maybe one hip felt or feels a little bit easier, or maybe it feels a little bit tighter. So just pay attention as we move from side to side. So you'll reach for the ankles. I would try not to pull on the feet because we don't, unless it feels good for a little bit of stretch through the outer ankles, but feel maybe the calves, maybe the outer sides of the feet. You can even pull the insides of the feet, but you just want to feel the inner thighs tightening like you're tightening your shoelace. And then as you reach the toes in opposite directions, feel that tightness through the inner thighs. And then again, pay attention to the breath. Did you lose the focus to the breath as we made that movement? Big full breaths here. And then take another final breath, staying here in stillness, but just feel if you can soften something through the hips and thighs. Maybe you can soften the belly. And if you have the grip of the legs, go ahead and release that grip. Arms are going to come back out to a T. Big inhale in. The exhale is going to bring the knees down over to the opposite side now, over to the right. So the gaze, feel that nice little pop in the vertebrae through the spine. I don't know if you could hear that one, but the gaze can go up towards the ceiling, or it's going to go over now the left shoulder. And then it's this stillness that allows the body to work the magic kind of from the postures. So as you sit here in stillness, breathe deeply so you can create that space. And then just settle the body so it knows that it's not going to move. Take a couple of breaths. And take one more full round of breath. I want you to just try and feel if you can soften through that left shoulder just a little bit more. Let's use the inhale to come back into center with everything. You'll uncross the legs, step the left foot next to the right. Bring the knees into the chest. And then just pull the knees as close to the chin as possible. Feel the sit bones release down to the floor. Take a full cycle of breath here. And then let's rock up to seated. Come into a table pose, to start. I want you to open up the hands nice and wide. Rotate the palms inward. And then as you ground the palms into the floor, feel the sit bones reach back, belly button towards the spine. So the tops of the palms are grounding into the floor, so that kind of presses you out of the shoulders. So you can even play with it a little bit, dumping your shoulders, your chest, in between the shoulders, or pressing them out. So you want to press out of the shoulders, get a little bit more resistance through the palms and the wrists, and then the same thing with the feet. Feel the tops of the feet pressing into the ground, and then tuck the chin. So I don't want the head hanging low. I don't want it up high. Feel the ears in line with the shoulders. And then you can sway the hips from side to side. You can do a couple of cat-cows if that feels good. You can stay in stillness. We'll take 2 breaths so you can move your body how you want. You can get adjusted. You can get any props that you think you might need. And then let's start to make our way back into our neutral spine. Tuck the toes. Feel that stretch in the bottom of the feet before we start to lift. So I want you to feel, maybe even press back. See if you can feel the entire foot starting to open. And then you'll take a big, deep breath here. Inhale, and then as you exhale, press into the palms, lift the sit bones, find your downward facing dog. Press the mat down and forward. Lift the sit bones nice and high. See if you can pull the belly button towards the spine. If you want, you can start with a little bend in the knees, or you can reach the heels towards the floor, backs of the legs towards the back of the mat. Deep breath here. On your inhale, let's raise the right leg up, look forward, plant the foot between the palms. I want you to stay on that back toe crease. Sink first down into the front knee. Let's spiral the left heel down. Front heel to back arch alignment. And then before we come up, scoop the right glute underneath the right hip. And then I want you to feel this left thigh, the inseam of the left thigh rotating backwards. So when you're ready, we're going to windmill up, find warrior two. Extend the arms away from one another. Sink down into the front knee. You can even inch the foot forward. So I actually like seeing myself, so like if you were in a mirror or something, because you have a little bit more ability to see your alignment. So try and sink into that front knee so you create that 90-degree angle. And then notice, is the torso leaning forward or is it leaning back? See if you can find that alignment right over the pelvis. Gaze is going to be right over the front middle finger. Feel the sternum softening from the chin, but there's still a little lift through the heart. Both feet are sealed to the floor. Take a full breath here. I want you to feel how the hips are as you sink into the pose. Find softness somewhere in the body. Take a full breath here. And then we'll inhale, flip the right palm over. Inhale to reverse your warrior so that the right hand comes up towards the ceiling. Left hand comes down the back of that left thigh. Sink down into the front knee. Soften through your right shoulder. And then pause here. I want you to notice where the feet are. Maybe notice where the attention has gone. Bring it back to your breath. Feel any sensations in the body. Take one more cycle. And then stay here. Straighten through the front leg. Feel the ball of the right foot sealed to the floor. Inhale to come back into warrior two, arms, and hinge forward at the hips. Try and keep the torso straight here. And then take another breath, look forward, gaze over your front middle finger. And then exhale to bring the hand down to your right shin, the floor, or if you want, you can bring a block into the picture here. Block would go to the inside or the outside of the foot. Left hand can go straight up, or it can be at the hip. Sometimes I like to start at the hip so I can feel that hip slightly rotating. It's still going to be pointed in, but you'll feel a little bit more open through the front side of the body. Feel the front right foot glued to the floor, and then the bottom ribs rotating forward. And then as you start to find that openness through the thighs and the hips, if you're using a prop, you can even start to go down in the steps here. So then that way you get closer to the floor. Maybe add that left hand wherever you are. And then soften through your left shoulder. Feel the openness through the thighs. And then even through the left side of the body. Take another full round of breath. And then inhale to come back into warrior two, nice and slow. Stack the torso over the pelvis. Your exhale is going to windmill the hands down to the inside of that right foot. So walk it over just a little bit to the outside of the right, to the right side of the mat. And then you can stay here with the left knee lifted. You can lower it down to the mat if that feels a little bit better. But I want you to feel the right knee hugged close to that right shoulder. If you have those props handy, you can always bring that block underneath the forearms. Keep the right knee hugged in. Reach the heart towards the thumbs. and then soften through the shoulders. So this is a big hip opening stretch. You might start to feel a little bit of heat building. Maybe start to feel, I don't know, different thoughts that come up for no reason. This is where the breath comes in handy here. So pay attention to what comes to the surface, but don't linger on any of those feelings. And take one more full round of breath here. Nice. So we'll set any props off the mat that we have, ground the palms into the floor. You're going to sweep that right leg up, come into a three-legged dog. Open up through the right hip, and then maybe gaze underneath the right armpit. Still press both palms into the floor evenly. Take one more full round of breath. And then when you're ready, you can place the right foot down onto the floor. We'll take a couple of breaths here, maybe 2 breaths, so you can stay here in down dog, or you can come into a child's pose. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. One more breath. So let's go on to the opposite side. Soften the heels down, come back into down dog if you're not. The next inhale, the left leg will lift. Look forward, plant the foot between the palms. Stay on the back of that, on the right toe crease, and then reach the heart forward. Take a deep breath in. Spiral the right heel down so that you have a front heel to back arch alignment, and you'll sink down into the front knee. So before we come up, you don't want your hip to be swinging out to the side. See if you can tuck the glute underneath the hip, and that's going to align everything under. You can also think about pulling that left hip. Sorry if I said right, but pull the left hip back. So as you do that, just don't let it swing out. Pull everything back. And then when you're ready, the inhale, you'll use the right hand to come up. So when you come up into warrior 2 on the opposite side, you'll sink down into the front knee. Feel the inside of that right thigh spiraling backwards. And then again, notice, are you hinging forward? Are you reaching back? Find alignment through the torso. You can even widen the feet if you need to. Open up through the heart. Soften the shoulders down the back. And then the gaze is over that front middle finger. Notice if you are clenching the jaw here, a lot of times we'll bring tension to the neck or the jaw. See if you can use your breath and consciously release that tension. Take one more cycle here. And you're going to take an inhale, reverse the left hand. On the next inhale, reverse your warrior. Right hand comes down the back of the right thigh. You'll gaze into the left palm, soften through the left shoulder. Pay attention to the left hip. Don't let it start to sway out. Keep everything hugged into center. Use the belly button to lift up through the spine. Both feet are glued to the floor. Take another full breath here. And then you'll keep this posture here, just straighten through the front leg. Ground the ball of the left foot into the floor. The next inhale, bring your arms back into warrior 2. Next inhale, reach forward. The exhale is going to bring your hand down to the shin, your block, or the floor. Right hand can extend straight up, or it can start at the right hip. And then you'll feel the left ribs, the bottom ribs rotating forward. Feel space being made behind the left hamstring. And then also notice the top of the right hip here. Feel it opening up Feel both hip sockets releasing. And you'll take another cycle of breath here. Use your next inhale to come back into warrior two, ground into the feet, and then our exhale is going to windmill us down. Hands are going to come to the inside of that left foot. You can start to walk the foot out a little bit. Come onto the palms, use your block. You can keep the right knee lifted or you can lower it down to the ground. So a couple of options there. If you're using a prop, it's nice to have it underneath the forearm so it brings the floor up, and you also have, a couple of heights to work with. Leave the left knee hugging in towards that left shoulder, but then be careful. Did you start to dump the head? So lift the head up, ears in line with the shoulders. And then I want you to feel the heart kind of lifting into the back side of the body, so then that way you don't start to dump the heart down towards the floor. And then once you find that sweet spot, come into stillness, close the eyes, and take a couple of breaths here for yourself. Pay attention to the breath. And just become aware of any sensations that you are feeling in the body, any emotions that are coming to the surface. And even pay attention to any thoughts that are starting to circle into the mind. And take one more full round of breath. Really nice, you guys. This is a hard pose, so we'll place the palms down onto the floor. Let's open it up. On the next inhale, sweep that left foot up and back, and you'll open up through the left hip. Gaze underneath the left armpit. So you can even circle it out if that feels good. You can let the heel hang. And then just take one more breath. Feel both of the palms equally grounded to the floor. And then when you're ready, you'll release. Come back to downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Feel the sit bones lift nice and high. And then exhale, let's come down to child's pose. Widen the knees, bring the big toes to touch. You'll press the sit bones back towards the heels and then bring the forehead down. I like to stack the palms, bring the center of my forehead to the center of my palms. So as you come down to child's pose, notice how the body feels here, where your awareness wants to be. And you'll just take another full round of breath here, in and out. Keep the eyes closed if you can. You'll come back onto your back. Bring the soles of the feet back together how we started. Bring both hands over the heart. So as we start to slow down here, our last couple of minutes of our practice, I want you to take a moment here, reconnect back with your breath. And with the hands over the heart, just check in with yourself. When was the last time that you actually tuned in to what your thoughts were actually thinking, how you were feeling, and maybe what you are needing? So just take another breath here. This also gives us the ability to come into stillness, starting to let all of the benefits of our practice sink into our body. And then keep the hands on the heart. I want you to go ahead and extend one leg at a time to the corners of the mat. And then we'll just end our practice here. Take a full breath. When you're ready, let's make our way up into our seated position. Can face the front, rock the sit bones from side to side. And then let's bring the hands to the heart. Our 3 cleansing breaths to end our practice. Deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale to sigh it out. Again, inhale. And exhale. And a final time, bigger inhale. And a fuller exhale. And when you're ready, blink the eyes open. Keep that smile on your face. Namaste. Thanks, guys, for joining my practice. There's quite a few of you out there today, so it's kind of comforting to know that we're all practicing together. Really think about how you're feeling today throughout all of your interactions, how you're speaking to one another, but how you feel personally throughout the day. And just check in with yourself and tune into yourself. And if you can, make that subtle shift back to center and maybe use a smile on your face to do so. Hope you have a really, really great day and a great weekend. And I hope to see you. Actually, next week I am going to be teaching at a studio. So we'll be doing our classes a little bit earlier on Monday and Wednesday. So 8 a.m. on Monday and Wednesday. But if you missed the class, there'll always still be the recording that you can check when you wake up. Hope you have a really great day. Thanks for joining.